Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into some really interesting research. It's all about getting little kids, first graders, moving.
Yeah, and seeing if that movement, specifically tied to learning, can actually help them with reading and spelling.
Exactly. We're looking at a study published in Educational Psychology Review that explores using body movements for letter sounds.
And it asks a key question. Does this work? And importantly, does it maybe work better for kids who find reading a bit tricky to start with?
Right. So our mission really is to unpack what this study found and, figure out what it might mean for how we teach reading.
It's fascinating because it's directly testing that link between, well, the physical body and these really fundamental literacy skills, letter sounds, spelling.
Okay, so how did they actually set this up? What did this study look like?
Well, they use a pretty standard approach for this kind of thing, a randomized controlled trial, which is, a good way to compare things.
Right, with actual kids.
Yep, first graders. Average age was around 7.1 years old.
Right.
And they randomly split them into two main groups. Okay. One group just carried on with their usual classroom stuff. That's the control group. They called it Common.
Standard teaching, got it.
And the other group, the MBE group, stands for movement phonemes. They got this special instruction. Learning letter sounds paired with body movements.
Ah, so not just like PE class, but movements for the sounds.
Exactly. Very specific. These were 25-minute sessions 3 times a week.
Okay.
And this went on for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
The core idea was linking a specific whole body movement to each letter sound they were learning.
That's interesting.
And they even did the movements, sort of tracing the direction of reading from left to right.
Oh, that's a clever detail. So how did they measure if it worked? What were they looking for?
They tested the kids on a few things. Their letter knowledge, could they name the sounds, also their ability to read words, and their spelling.
And they tested them when?
Before the whole thing started, that was T1, and then right after the 4 weeks finished, T2.
Okay, before and after. Makes sense.
Yep. And one more thing within each group, the MOVE and the CON groups, they looked at kids who started out as lower performers in reading, the LPs, and those who were higher performers, HPs.
Ah, okay. So they could see if maybe the movement stuff helped one group more than the other.
Precisely. To see if there was a different impact based on where the kids started.
Right. Now, this movement phones thing, can you give us a better sense of it? What did it actually look like?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. The aim was to make a physical connection to the sound. So, like, for the ziz sound, maybe a flowing, snake-like body movement.
Okay.
Or for short, crisp sounds, they used quick, sharp movements. They even played with pitch. A higher pitch sound might involve reaching arms up high.
Wow, that's really trying to engage everything. Where did they get these ideas from? Was it based on anything?
Yeah, they drew inspiration from a Danish teaching program called Fandango Mini. It's known for its synthetic phonics approach. And over the 4 weeks, the MVE group covered 25 letters. This included the standard sounds, the most common ones, but also some of those trickier conditional sounds.
Conditional sounds. What are those exactly?
Those are the sounds a letter might make depending on the letters around it in a word, like how C sounds different in cat versus scent. They can be harder to learn.
Ah, right. Okay. And how are these MVE sessions actually delivered? Kids working alone?
No, they were quite structured. A trained instructor led them, and the kids worked in pairs.
Pairs, so like helping each other.
Yeah, and it meant a good teacher-student ratio, about 1 to 2. They'd cycle through different activities, and the instructor gave feedback, telling them how they were doing, sometimes even adjusting their movements.
That 1 to 2 ratio sounds pretty intensive. That's maybe different from a typical classroom.
It often is, yeah. That's something to keep in mind later.
Okay. And the control group, the Kanan kids, what were they doing all this time? Just normal lessons?
Pretty much. They followed their regular first grade teaching. Importantly, they also used that Fandango Mini program, so they were getting phonics instruction too.
Ah, okay.
And some supplementary stuff, the first reading the letter book. But the key difference was no specific body movements linked to sounds like in the MOVE group.
Right, so both getting phonics, one adds the structured movement.
Got it.
Okay, the moment of truth. What did they find? What were the results?
Well, the big picture finding was pretty clear. The MVE group showed significantly more improvement than the control group when it came to naming letter sounds.
All the sounds, or just specific ones?
Across the board, actually. Standard sounds, those conditional sounds, all of them. And interestingly, their spelling performance also improved significantly more in the MVE group compared to the control group.
Okay, letter sounds and spelling improve more with movement. What about reading actual words?
That's where it gets interesting. They didn't find a statistically significant difference between the MVE and CON groups in overall word reading ability after the 4 weeks.
Hmm. So movement helped the building blocks, like sounds and spelling,
Yeah.
but not necessarily putting it all together for reading fluency yet.
That seems to be the initial takeaway, yes. But then they dug deeper, looking at those low performers, the LPs.
Right, the kids who started out struggling a bit more, what happened with them?
Here, the results were really striking. The low performers in the movie E group made significantly bigger gains than the low performers in the control group.
In what areas?
In letter sound knowledge again, both overall sounds and those conditional ones, and in their spelling performance.
Wow. Okay, so this movement approach really seemed to give those kids a boost. That's quite encouraging.
It really is. And maybe the most surprising finding, or at least a very important one.
Yeah.
They found no significant difference in the amount of improvement between the low performers in the MOVE group and the high performers in the MOVE group.
Wait, really? So the kids who started behind caught up to the level of improvement seen by the kids who were already doing well within that MBE group?
In terms of the gains they made during the intervention, yes. It suggests both LPs and HPs benefited similarly from the movement approach itself, which is quite powerful, maybe suggesting it levels the playing field a bit.
That is surprising. You might guess the higher performers would just shoot ahead even faster.
Exactly.
So what about those high performers then? Did the MAE intervention actually help them compared to the high performers who just had regular teaching?
Yes, it did. Even the high performers in the MOVE group showed significantly better improvement in letter sounds, standard and conditional, and in spelling compared to the high performers in the control group.
Okay, so it wasn't just a remedial thing. It seemed to add value for everyone, regardless of their starting point, at least for sounds and spelling.
That's what the results suggest, yes. A boost across the board in those specific areas.
Fascinating. The researchers must have chewed over these results quite a bit. What did they think was going on? Why these patterns?
They had a few key ideas. One was about those conditional letter sounds where the MBE group showed a particularly strong effect.
Right, the trickier ones.
Yeah. They thought it might be down to something called ceiling and floor effects. Essentially, a lot of kids, maybe especially the high performers, already knew the standard sounds pretty well, so there wasn't much room left to improve. That's the ceiling.
Okay.
But the conditional sounds were probably new for most kids, so everyone was starting near the bottom of the floor. And the embodied learning, the movement, seemed especially good at helping them grasp and, crucially, remember these less common, maybe more abstract pronunciations.
Ah, the physical anchor for something new and maybe confusing. That makes intuitive sense.
Exactly. The movement might have made those tricky sounds more distinct, easier to recall.
Okay, and what about the spelling improving, but the overall word reading not showing the same jump?
Their theory there was that the intervention really honed in on nailing those letter-sound links, and spelling relies very directly on knowing which letters make which sounds.
Right, you sound it out and write the letters.
Precisely. But reading whole words smoothly also requires blending those sounds together, foam blending. The researchers thought maybe the 4-week intervention just didn't have enough explicit focus or practice on that specific blending skill to see a big transfer effect to fluent word reading in that time frame.
So the foundation got stronger, which helped spelling, but maybe not enough time or focus on the next step for reading fluency itself.
That seems to be their interpretation. The building blocks improved, but maybe more work needed on assembly for reading.
Okay, and back to that really interesting point about the lower and higher performers improving at similar rates within the MOV group. What was their thinking there?
They pointed towards the setup of the MOV sessions. Remember that close support? The 1-to-2 teacher-student ratio?
Ah, yeah, the intensive support.
They suspected that this level of personalized attention with immediate feedback, both verbal and maybe even physical guidance on the movements, allowed all the kids, including those who might usually struggle in a larger group, to really engage and benefit from the embodied approach.
So the support helped unlock the benefit of the movement for everyone.
Possibly. And they also floated the idea that the movement itself could act as a kind of retrieval cue, like a memory aid.
How so?
Like if a child was trying to remember the sound for a letter, maybe starting to do the associated movement physically helped trigger the recall of the sound, the body helping the brain, essentially.
That's a really cool concept, the body as a memory prompt.
Yeah.
Did they mention any downsides or limitations? Good research usually does.
Absolutely. They were upfront about a couple of things. One, they only measured right after the intervention. So we don't know if these benefits in letter sounds and spelling lasted long term. Did the effects stick around? We need more research for that.
Okay, yeah. Follow up.
And second, that 1-to-2 teaching ratio in the MV group. It's great for an intervention study, but it's obviously quite different from a typical classroom with one teacher and many more students.
Right. So comparing it directly to normal teaching is a bit tricky because of that difference in attention.
Exactly. It makes it hard to say if it was just the movement or the movement plus the extra support that made the difference compared to the control group's regular class setting. But they did stress that their findings fit with other studies suggesting movement helps with phonics.
Okay, so bearing those limitations in mind, what's the takeaway message? What do the researchers suggest this means practically, maybe for teachers?
They had a couple of practical thoughts. One was that teachers might want to specifically consider using movement when teaching those difficult conditional letter sounds, since that's where the effects seem strongest.
Focus the movement where it might help most.
Yeah. And they also emphasized that this approach seemed good for all the kids, not just the ones finding reading hard. So it's potentially a universal tool, not just for intervention.
That's important.
Oh, and a related side point, they found that the teachers' initial sort of subjective rankings of kids' reading abilities matched up pretty well with the actual test scores.
So teachers generally have a good sense of where their kids are at.
It suggests their professional judgment is quite valuable, yeah.
Okay, great. So wrapping this deep dive up then, the main story seems to be that a fairly short burst of this embodied learning linking body movements to letter sounds really can significantly boost first graders' skills in recognizing those sounds and in spelling.
Yes, that's the core finding, significant gains in letter sound knowledge and spelling performance.
And perhaps most intriguingly, these benefits didn't seem limited to just one group. Both kids starting out strong and those needing more help appeared to gain from it.
Exactly, which suggests integrating movement isn't just about fun, though it might be that too, but could be a genuinely effective strategy to strengthen those early literacy foundations for a really wide range of young learners.
So for everyone listening, this research paints a really compelling picture of how connecting the physical and the mental might enhance learning, especially in these crucial early years.
Yeah.
And it does leave you wondering, if just 4 weeks can show these kinds of effects for letter sounds and spelling.
What might be possible if we thought more creatively about integrating embodied learning more broadly? Not just in literacy, but across different subjects, different ages. What kind of deeper, longer-lasting impact could that have on how well kids learn and remember things? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.